TJ, what you think, man? You think teams should actually wait on Aaron Rodgers to make that call and that decision?
Well, it's really one team is going to wait as long as they have to wait, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. What other choice do they have? Where are they going to go? They already have Mason Rudolph, and what's the other option? The draft. So they either way, they're going to be waiting with Mason Rudolph, or they're going to wait on who they draft. And then Aaron Rodgers is waiting on the Vikings. The Vikings aren't waiting on him. He's waiting on the Vikings. And so this may linger.
What makes you think that he's waiting on the Vikings?
If he hasn't signed, he doesn't like what he's getting offered, or he doesn't like the teams that are offering him. And the team that he wants right now is a team that don't want him. Yeah. They want to see how J.J. McCarthy looks. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be what the Vikings assume he will be, OTAs, minicamp? And if he shows that, they'll probably let Aaron Rodgers and his people know, okay, we're going to move on. And if not, I believe Aaron Rodgers will eventually sign with the Steelers if the Minnesota Vikings see what they want to see out of J.J. McCarthy.
Man, that's tough. That's tough. Holding those Pittsburgh Steelers hostage. That's the only team that, doesn't have a backup plan. You know what I'm saying? Because, Minnesota, like you said, they got J.J. McCarthy. So, the only team that's waiting is Pittsburgh. Man, if I'm Aaron, I get it. He was like, if it's not the right situation, and that's what he's probably waiting on, which is the only right situation is Minnesota. That makes the most sense because I feel like, they won 14 games with Sam Darnold. They're like, hey, we're closer to Super Bowl than not. If we had had Aaron Rodgers in those games where we lost to Detroit for the division, or we lost in the playoffs to, was it the Rams? If that's Aaron Rodgers, he wouldn't have folded under the big lights. And so that's probably what Aaron is, either retire or Vikings. That's it. That's all I can see at this point.
Guys, and Rick, I feel like you can definitely wait on the Aaron Rodgers situation. No matter which team he decides at the end to choose, they can wait. You got the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, if you go back to, which is funny, you go back to when they had to wait on Brett Favre. They literally waited on Brett Favre all the way up until the summer before he made his decision to join the Minnesota Vikings. So it shows that, number one, there and Ziggy Wolf and company have a history of, just on the Favre situation, on waiting. No big deal. But they're not drafting a quarterback, right? They're not, unless they take a dude in the 7th round just because they like him and they want to see what he has and put him on the practice squad. They started, like you say, TJ and J.J. McCarthy. So they can wait. The Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, is not a heavy, deep quarterback draft. So the first two guys will probably be gone. They're not going to fall to Pittsburgh or any craziness like that. They can also wait and see what could come available to them via the draft, whether all of a sudden there's a Jackson Dart that falls in their lap that they say, okay, we take him instead of messing around with Aaron Rodgers. So they certainly, I feel like, could wait 100% without a doubt. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play football. I understand reports are always out there about what somebody's going to do with their career. He's not going out like a bad battery in a flashlight. He's not going to do that.
At this point, I'm not waiting a minute for him. I don't care which team I am. I am making my plans. At this point...
But you can still make your plans.
I've already made him an offer.
If you're the Steelers, you have no choice, Rick. You have no choice but to wait.
Well, but I'm not planning on Aaron Rodgers being there. I'm not saying,
make your plans.
I must. First of all, at this point, they must have another.
They mucked this whole offseason, by the way, Pittsburgh.
Or they have a plan. They have another plan outside of Aaron Rodgers.
What's the plan?
I don't. None of us know.
They don't even know then. If there's another plan, nobody knows.
I don't know that, but I do know this, that Aaron Rodgers at this point is not worth waiting on. The talent is not there to wait on. Now, Steelers, you may question their plan. You may question whether they can find a quarterback other than Aaron Rodgers, or that they have one. But the bottom line is that's not the direction that I'm going, because Aaron Rodgers isn't worth waiting for. Aaron Rodgers isn't worth holding my plans, suspending what I'm doing to find out what Aaron is going to do. This is a lot like when Sean Payton came into Denver with Russell Wilson. It was like, no, you're not running the show. I'm not making my plans based on what
But
you want
doesn't
to
it
do.
seem as if the Pittsburgh Steelers think completely opposite of what you're saying? We think he is worth it. We think he can do this for our team. We think we can win with him.
But
Because if they didn't think so, they would say it publicly. We are out of the Aaron Rodgers business. They would say this publicly.
But we also are only at the back end of April. I mean, the back end of March, heading into April. OTAs and all that sort of stuff, that's in May and June.
Sure.
So you got time. There's no, if he signs today, what does that do? What does that literally do for
They
the
just
organization?
sliding the playbook.
Slide the play. He can do that anyway. He can do, as far as Minnesota's offense go, there's no learning curve.
But
that learning curve is this much.
But what you're doing is you're setting it up so that Aaron Rodgers feels like he still has
The power?
in charge.
No,
Yes.
it won't. Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't operate that way.
I agree with you.
And I don't believe Kevin O'Connell, who shares the same agency with Aaron Rodgers' representatives, I don't believe that relationship is so to the point where he's going to hand the keys to the car to Aaron Rodgers.
I agree, but I also don't believe, as much as we're thinking that the Pittsburgh Steelers are screwing this all up, I can't help but feel the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking at this and saying, Aaron doesn't want to be here. That's clear. He's looking for another option.
They know.
Okay, so you know what? If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm moving on.
And what are you moving on to?
That's a great question.
You're not moving on to anything. You're just.
But you just said it.
So that's why they're not going to move on.
Yeah, so there's no point of moving on. I'm just going to let him do what he's doing. We're going to prepare as if Aaron Rodgers is not here.
That's
and
right.
If he walks through the door, great.
Exactly. But I'm not waiting. The question is, how long should they wait for him? They're not waiting for him at this point.
No.
Yes, they are.
They're not
waiting.
Have you ever been?
I don't think they're planning on him.
Has anybody
being
ever
there.
been desperate, like just desperate for something? Like just you so desperate that you just because you don't have a plan B.
If they were desperate, they would be putting an offer out there, a can't refuse offer, and I'm not getting any of that. If you're sold on we have to have Aaron Rodgers, then you're not sitting back to find out whether he's going to come or not.
Maybe.
You're putting an offer out there and saying we have to have Aaron Rodgers.
The offers
They
are on the
did
table.
exactly what Paul said. They messed this whole thing
They
up.
mucked the whole offseason up.
That's exactly what they've done.
And they caught themselves right now with their back against the wall, and now they're in a desperation situation to where you have to wait. You have to. There's no other choice.
I need to see the draft, and I need to see where we are at the end of April, beginning of May, before I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers did not have a plan that did not
100%.
include Aaron Rodgers.
You know what, Paul?
Their plan was, I think their plan was, okay, we'll either bring Fields or Wilson back.
That was the original plan.
That was the original plan.
100%.
Then when Fields bolted and Wilson felt slighted, it took him off guard.
Probably.
And now this is our plan D over here in Rodgers. And it's a desperation. It's a Hail Mary at this point.
Desperate, huh? Yeah, that's like me the other day. I was so desperate, I was hungry. I stopped and got some fried chicken. Anyway, Brock Purdy is waiting on his contract to stitch it. And our very own Jordan Schultz is reporting that Purdy's deal could land between $50 and $55 million per year. TJ, is this a fair amount of pay for Mr. Per Day, as Michael Irvin would say? Oh, that was a bar, huh?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. All right.
Is it?
You made that work. You made that
First
work.
off, whatever somebody is going to give you, that's fair. Now,
Well, I don't.
if
I don't think
I was in that position and I'm John Lynch and I'm the 49ers, I'm not going there. I'm not doing it, man. My max is 47. And my max is 47 because when you look at the highest paid quarterback, $47 million a year, Keyshawn don't care about average. He care about guaranteed money. He going to get to that in a minute. Kyler Murray is the 11th highest paid quarterback in the league at $46.1 million. I'm not giving Brock Purdy more than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is at 51. I'm not giving you 50. 47. That's what I'm going to do. Didn't the 49ers just say early in this offseason, we are going to change the way we do these contracts? Did they not say this? And so whatever y'all have in mind, stay true to what you said, because this is what y'all told the public. stay true to that. Don't start changing now that, you feel like Bosa got over. Oh, you feel like, don't let Purdy get over. This is what we going to do it. I'm not giving Brock Purdy $50 to $55 million a year. I'm not going to do it because last year, when we had our horses out, 1-6 against playoff teams, when we needed him to carry us,
man,
he
start reading
couldn't.
my notes.
That's what you got? I just remember.
It's wide receiver to wide receiver. What's that question?
No, that's true, though. 1-6 against playoff teams.
Yeah.
Nine touchdowns and 7 interceptions and 10 turnovers.
$50 million plus.
See what I got? You see what I keep over here?
Keys notes.
Keys notes.
I keep them right here.
No, Rick, look, you're one that don't believe that he should make this type of money. You feel he should make some money, but not at the highest level.
Yeah. No, this idea that, well, we just always have to pay the next guy up more than what the going rate is. How many teams have to make that mistake before we realize that that's not necessarily good business? And I know how valuable a quarterback is and how important it is. And I don't have a problem with the 49ers saying we want to go forward with Brock Purdy. But you also need the money and the ability to put the talent around him, because I don't think he's the type of talent that elevates average players. I think there's a very select group that does that or has demonstrated that they can do that. Brock Purdy is not among them. So 50 to 55 million as based on this list, because that is not only fair, it's generous. And again, I think we've all talked about it.
It's generous for who?
It's generous by the 49ers to Brock Purdy that they are going to pay him that, because that would make him a top 10 paid quarterback. Do we consider him talent-wise a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
That's not fair, Rick. Because do we consider Dak Prescott the best quarterback?
No,
he's the top paid.
But because they made that, because the Dallas Cowboys operated that way and made that mistake is not justification for the 49ers to do the same thing.
Well, is Jordan Love the second best quarterback?
No.
He's the second highest paid, tied for the second. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't say he's in the top 10, getting top 10 money, and he's not top 10. It doesn't fall. That's not the case with none of these guys. Is Purdy deserving of this money? Absolutely. Because in this league, well, from what I've seen, you need a quarterback, and a more than capable quarterback, and he's shown that. He's been to the to the NFC Championship twice. He's been to the Super Bowl once. Now, when I look down this list, Dak Prescott's never been there.
Man, what are you doing?
Well, I'm looking at the highest paid.
You sitting over here, really? You got them glasses. I know he has them glasses on, and people that what's the name of them glasses that they be videotaping or doing that?
Quite a mess.
Yeah, you got them on because you sitting over here. This is the same thing you doing.
No, I'm reading Key's notes.
Man, I'm gonna have to. He's sitting over here. He got the glasses. He got the camera on the side, though.
No, but I'm like I said, I'm speaking the facts. But if you want to go ahead and finish it, go ahead.
It's only 3 out of the top 11. There's only 3 people that make $50 million or more that's been to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay. There's only 3 of them.
Okay.
And there's only one of them that has actually won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Joe Burrow didn't win it. And neither did Jared Goff.
But all those other players.
Jalen Hurts is the only one that won it. All these dudes making $50 million plus.
Yep.
And I understand why we look at him, and I say this all the time. With certain coaches and certain type of players, you get discounted or you get elevated up, depending on what you do for that particular coach and that player. He was Mr. Irrelevant, and he has Kyle Shanahan. So the first thing we do is we go, oh, Kyle Shanahan, anybody can play quarterback for him.
Seems that way.
But it doesn't seem that way.
Well, it does seem that way.
How so?
Because the quarterbacks under Shanahan have thrived.
How so?
Let me break this down for you.
Matt Ryan was already a guy in the National Football League.
He won the MVP?
But he was already a guy. He was on his way. He was already a guy.
How many Super Bowls did he play in?
I understand he played in. I understand. I get that. But he was the number 1 overall pick. Yeah. He wasn't a dude that you found in aisle 8 at the grocery store and said, come try out.
Before and after Shanahan. Did he ever have that type of success again?
He still was successful.
No, but he didn't have that type of success.
But he still was successful, though. He still was. And then you mentioned quarterbacks. If you look at The guy in Jimmy Garoppolo, he looked at Jimmy Garoppolo and said, man, don't throw the ball no more. I don't want you throwing the football no more in the divisional round in the NFC Championship game against Minnesota, in Green Bay game in those playoffs. He threw the ball probably a total after that 6 times in those 2 games. So he kept running the ball, running the ball. Then you look at it and you say, well, he should have hit that shot to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. I think it was Emmanuel Sanders, right?
Yeah, it was
in the Super Bowl, they would have won. He missed that. He missed it. Brock Purdy did not lose the Super Bowl for the San Francisco 49ers against Kansas City Chiefs. That offensive lineman missed an assignment in that Super Bowl. Man. All I'm saying is he deserves that average of 55. I'll give him an average of 60. I can give him an average of 60. I can give him an average of 60. But you know what I'm going to say, TJ?
What's the
guarantee?
Money.
The guarantee money.
The guarantee money.
They don't release these quarterbacks. He going to see every bit of that.
I understand that. That may be true. But I'm also, Rick, a what-if guy. There's always injuries involved, so you can't just count that based on being a quarterback and having a contract, you're going to see all that money.
Would you allow me to go through this list?
Yes, go right ahead, Coach.
Joe Burrow, is he worth top 10 money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been to the Super Bowl, too.
Yeah, he's been to the Super Bowl.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's on his way.
50 MVP.
But he hadn't been to the Super Bowl.
Jared Goff?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Been to a Super Bowl.
Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
2 MVPs.
Okay. Absolutely.
Jordan Love, did he overachieve?
No, he did not overachieve.
He didn't make the team around him better. He didn't make them better than you thought they were going to be.
He did something that you didn't expect for a first time.
That's called overachieving.
Full starter.
No. You didn't.
No, what you mean?
You answered the question.
We didn't expect it, but we knew he had it.
Is Dak Prescott worth being paid the highest number?
He was the next guy up.
No. Answer the question. Is he worth being paid?
No.
Thank you.
See, I ain't going to say that.
Trevor Lawrence, is he a top 5 quarterback?
He has nice long hair.
No. Okay. Tua. Is top 5 quarterback?
They didn't have a. Here's what I'm going to say. I've seen the Miami Dolphins.
Answer the question.
Yes.
Answer the question.
Yes, for the Miami Dolphins, he is when he's healthy.
Answer for you.
When he's healthy, he is, Rick.
No, he's not.
When he's healthy for the Miami Dolphins.
Here's my point.
Did you see Miami without him?
That's why Purdy is deserving of it.
Here's my point. You have all of these quarterbacks. Half of them are justified, paid the money that they are, and half of them are not. So when you are the 49ers with Brock Purdy, which direction are you going to go? Are you going to pay a guy who's worth it? Or are you going to be one of those teams paying a guy?
If you don't pay him, then what direction are you going in? What are you saying to the franchise as a team that's has been a model team has a history of winning? What direction are you telling the team you're going in if you don't resign?
We're going to pay guys who are worth it.
They just said it. We're not going to be bullied into these contracts.
Yeah.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.